I flirted with the cold doctor until he blushed and had a nosebleed. Now he shows up at my door every day. If I had known one flirty wink could make a man in a white coat nosebleed on the spot, I might have tried it on someone else first. But it was too late. Dr. Lucas Wells was already bleeding, and I was already falling. It started in a ridiculous way, the kind of moment you'd see in a cheesy soap opera. I walked into the town clinic not because I was sick, but because I was stupidly trying to drop off flowers for the receptionist, my best friend April, and maybe sneak a glance at the famously aloof Dr. Wells. He was the definition of unattainable, serious, pristine, emotionally bulletproof. So naturally, I wanted to break him open like a walnut. He was standing at the front desk, flipping through a clipboard, his jaw clenched like it had never once relaxed in his entire life. April nudged me, whispering, "Try not to flirt with him today. He's in a mood." So of course, I leaned against the counter, placed a sunflower bouquet next to his arm, and said, "You know, Doc, if you ever need a heart transplant, I volunteer mine. It's barely been used." Lucas blinked at me, slowly. Then, without a word, he tilted his head down and a thin stream of blood trickled from his nose. That was how it began. The aloof, untouchable Dr. Wells, betrayed by his own body. And me, the relentless idiot who saw a crack in his armor and dove in headfirst. The next few weeks were chaos. He tried to avoid me. I found new reasons to visit the clinic. Paper cuts, twisted ankles, imaginary symptoms. I was like a rom-com character possessed by Cupid's demon. And every time I got too close, Lucas would flush just slightly, his jaw tensing like he was fighting off a hurricane. I learned things. That he hated coffee but loved herbal tea. That he volunteered at the shelter on weekends. That his mom was a nurse who passed away 3 years ago and he hadn't taken a day off since. He learned things too. That I wasn't just some dumb flirt. I ran the local flower shop and sang for elderly residents every Sunday. That I kept the flower cooler running even during power outages because I couldn't stand the idea of anything beautiful wilting. One night, it was pouring rain, and I stayed late at the shop to finish an arrangement for a funeral. The power cut out, and I sat there in the dark, frustrated and soaked with anxiety. Then the bell over the door chimed. Lucas stood there, hair damp, holding a lantern in one hand and a steaming thermos in the other. "You didn't come in today," he said stiffly. I blinked. "Did you miss me, doctor?" He walked in, setting the lantern down. "Don't flatter yourself. I figured you were too sick to walk and too stubborn to call." He stayed with me for 2 hours. We didn't talk much, just sat. And when I handed him a daisy and said, "You look like someone who hasn't smiled in years," he finally cracked. "I don't smile because it hurts to lose it," he whispered. "But with you, it keeps trying to come back." That was the turning point. Fall crept into winter, and suddenly Lucas was everywhere. Bringing me lunch at the shop. Dropping by after work with a silent presence that felt warmer than words. He was still guarded, but now there was a softness around the edges. A gentleness in his touch when he brushed petals from my hair. He didn't say the words, but he showed them. Then came the storm. One night, I walked into the clinic and saw Lucas in the hallway talking to a man in a black suit. His older brother, Daniel. Stern, judgmental, and loaded with expectations. I caught enough to understand. Lucas was supposed to take a research position at a prestigious Boston hospital. His family didn't approve of small-town distractions. Of me. "You deserve more than some flower shop boy," Daniel said. Unaware I was behind the door. Lucas didn't respond. He just looked down at the floor like a child being scolded. Like the boy who never got to grieve properly. Who tried to become perfect because it was the only way people stayed. When I walked in, Lucas flinched. Daniel looked at me with polished disdain. "So this is him." "I'm not some phase," I said quietly. Lucas reached for me, but I stepped back. "You don't have to choose. But I won't be the reason you're ashamed." I left. The silence between us stretched for days. Valentines came and went. I filled orders for everyone else in town while my own heart wilted behind the counter. Then, on the night of the town's spring festival, I was closing up the shop when someone knocked. It was Lucas, holding a bouquet. Not just any bouquet, one made of every flower I ever mentioned loving. Sloppily arranged, tied with a surgical mask. "I'm terrible with words," he said, breathless. "But I know how to treat wounds. And the only one I've never been able to heal is the one I gave myself when I let you walk away." He stepped closer. "I turned down the job. Not for you. For me. Because this is the life I want. And you're the person I want to come home to." I didn't answer. I just kissed him. Hard. Honest. Healing. Now, every morning, Lucas stops by before his shift, sometimes with bandages, sometimes with coffee. Always with that quiet look of wonder, like he can't believe I'm real. And every evening he comes back. No longer the cold doctor behind the desk, but the man whose nose once bled from a single line of flirtation. The man who finally learned how to let someone love him. And the man I'll never stop loving back. Thank you for listening. Don't forget to like and subscribe to stay updated with the latest videos.